Imagine this situation. Your friend asks you if you want to come to a concert tonight, but you've already made plans with a family member, but you really don't want to be rude. In this lesson, I'll teach you the phrases that you need to know in order to politely decline or refuse something. This can be as simple as saying no to an invitation to do something, or if someone asks you to do a favor for them, how are you going to say no in a polite and respectful way? I'll review the tips and the phrases that you need, so let's get started with this lesson and make sure to visit EnglishWithKayla.com to learn more English with me. First, let's talk about why it's so important to be polite in any language. Of course, you can be polite and still say no to someone.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
In English, we have a phrase, no means no, which really just means to respect someone's boundaries. We refer to someone's boundaries as what they're willing to do or willing to sacrifice for another person. Some people have really strict boundaries around their family. Maybe the weekend for them is family time and they do not work at all on weekends. So maybe if their boss asks them to take on some extra work or to take some work home, they say, no, I'm sorry, I don't work on weekends because it's really important for me to spend time with my family. This would be a really polite and respectful way to say no to your boss. Now remember, when we're being polite and we're refusing something, we're always going to be honest, so we're never going to make something up or lie. And just remember throughout this whole lesson, if you want to be polite, your tone, speaking in a happy, polite tone, a calm tone, is always very important. The context of a situation is always the most important as well. And then your word choice is also going to make your phrases sound more polite.
No means no!
Let's review 5 key phrases when it comes to declining something. So pay close attention because these phrases, they're going to be your bread and butter when being polite and declining or refusing something. And your bread and butter, this is just an idiom that means something very important, very essential to what we're doing here. The first phrase is I'd love to, but. I'd love to help you, but I'm actually busy right now. This is a really softened way to decline something. Or if someone asks you to go to a movie tonight and you're busy, I'd love to, but unfortunately, I already committed to staying at home and studying.
I'd love to, but I can't.
This is my top phrase when it comes to politely declining something because it's showing that you're interested. It's showing that you would be enthusiastic if you didn't already have a prior commitment or a reason that you couldn't help or do whatever it is the person is asking. You can even use this if someone says, hey, do you have a few minutes to come look over here? Or would you like to give money to this charity? Whatever it might be, you could say, I'd love to, but unfortunately I can't today. Remember, you don't always have to elaborate a big story or a big excuse. Keep it simple when you are refusing something or declining something. If you want to show that you are sorry that you can't do something and you want to add a bit of an apology, you could say, I'm sorry, but I can't.
I'm sorry, but I can't.
Maybe your coworker says, would you like to come to my son's birthday party this weekend? And you might say, I'm sorry, but I can't. I actually already have plans. So again, this can be used in any of the situations that we've already reviewed. You can either say, I'd love to, but, or I'm sorry, but I can't. Now, these two phrases, they're pretty similar. They're both, saying I would like to, but I just can't right now because of some reason. A more formal way to politely decline something or refuse something is to say, unfortunately, I can't right now, or unfortunately, I'm unable to. If someone says, would you like to meet at this time? Unfortunately, I'm unable to meet at that time because I'm busy. Can you help me with this project? Unfortunately, right now, I can't help because I have lots of things of my own to deal with. So again, this is a bit more formal. You could definitely use this in an email just because it is a bit more formal. Now, let's say your neighbor asks you if you want to come over for dinner. You think this is very nice, but at that time, you don't really want to go over to your neighbors. You can simply say, I appreciate the offer, but unfortunately, we have to pass tonight. Now, you can provide more of a detailed excuse why you can't, but remember, never lie and never make up a story because it's only going to get more awkward, especially if you are trying to make up the story in English. You might get your words confused, so I would just stick to something very simple. Your neighbor comes over and asks you to have dinner. You might say, I appreciate it, but tonight we've actually already have plans. Or I appreciate it, but actually we're going to bed early tonight. Just something very simple. If someone questions you, you just need to stand firm on your boundary. I really like this phrase, I appreciate it, because it's showing your gratitude and it's showing your politeness and your appreciation for their offer, and it will make the person feel good. You don't want them to feel rejected or disrespected by you saying no. And that goes for if someone says, hey, can I help you with that right now? Sometimes if you want to decline help or just decline them, getting involved, you can say, oh, I appreciate it, but I've totally got it. You just sit down and relax. Thank you so much. So again, just thank you for their offer. Thanks so much for offering. That's another great phrase that you can use as well.
Really appreciate it, but I don't have the time right now.
Now let's go back to this imaginary situation of your neighbor coming over and asking if you want to come over for dinner. Maybe you do really like that neighbor, but just the day that they've asked you to have dinner, it's not working well. Maybe you just have a lot of things going on in your home. Maybe you don't feel good. Maybe you're just feeling lazy and tired. You might say, how about another time? Or you can even say, maybe another time. This again is going back to the phrase of taking a rain check. In English, we say, I'll take a rain check, which means you'll do it on a day that works better than this day because there's some sort of circumstance that makes it unable to happen. So maybe another time is another good phrase that says, we're interested, thanks for the offer, but let's reschedule it for when it's a better time for me.
Maybe another time.
Let's review how you can actually use these phrases in context when someone asks you something and you need to decline. Let's go back to the very first example in this lesson. Your friend, and maybe this is a newer friend that you haven't known for a long time, but you really like them and you really hope that you can continue their friendship. Now they say, do you want to go to the concert with us tonight? Although you would like to go with them, you've already made plans with a family member and tonight is just not a good night. How would you politely decline the invitation without feeling rude or maybe just without having bad feelings with this new friend? Maybe you combine a couple of phrases that we've already learned. You might say, I'd love to, but I already made plans. Maybe next time? And this is showing not only that you are excited that they offered the invitation, you say, I'd love to, and you're saying that you're busy, you already have plans with a family member, and then adding maybe next time or perhaps next time is just showing that you want to keep continuing the friendship and you do want to do something with them in the future. This is just a great example of how you can actually refuse an invitation without feeling rude to someone that you want to be friends with.
I'd love to, but I have plans on Sunday.
Well, maybe some other time.
Let's move on to another scenario. This time, you are at work and you need to decline an offer for help. Sometimes it can feel really rude to say no when someone's offering to be helpful. They're offering to do something for you, but sometimes we don't want the help and we want people to know that we also just don't need the help. So your colleague says, hey, can I help you with this project? It seems like a lot of work. You might say, I really appreciate it, but I've got it under control. Thanks anyway. So again, we're saying, instead of saying thanks for the offer, we're saying, I appreciate it. I appreciate you offering help because it is a nice offer. And you say, I've got it under control, which should be true in the situation. And again, we're just showing that gratitude. Thanks anyway. And I like to either say thanks anyway or thanks for the offer. Thanks again for offering. Now, what if someone is requesting or asking you to do a favor for them? Let's go back to that neighbor. Maybe they say, can you watch my dog this weekend? You might politely respond, I'm sorry, I'm actually busy this weekend, but I hope you find someone. Again, there's kind of three parts to this sentence. You say, I'm sorry, apologizing. You're saying, maybe I wish I could. Maybe I wish I couldn't because I don't like dogs or I just don't want the responsibility of watching your dog. We're not saying these things, but oh, I'm sorry. I'm busy this weekend. And then we're adding, I hope you find someone just to be polite. I hope it works out for you. So, again, in a lot of these situations, when you can't help someone, you can say, I hope it works out for you, or I hope you find someone to help you. Here are 4 tips that will help you be polite when you are refusing an offer or declining something. Though, first, I've already mentioned always be honest. In English, we say honesty is the best policy. This phrase kind of rhymes, but it's just a very true way to live. Honesty is the best policy. Always show gratitude, thank the person for their invite, thank the person for their offer, say, oh, thanks for thinking of me, but I'm actually busy. You're always thanking the person for even just offering something or asking you something. This helps you feel more polite and it keeps the relationship friendly, even when you have to reject them or refuse something. Even myself, a native English speaker, I just have to keep it brief. When you're offering an excuse or an explanation as to why you can't do something or why you don't want to do something, it's better just to offer a very simple excuse because when you start telling a very long story, you might be exposing yourself and the person might think, well, really, that's why you can't do this weekend? Which, they're judging you in a way, but it's also just making it so maybe you're stumbling over your words and the situation is becoming more awkward. I think most people are very, very understanding if you just give a brief excuse, especially if you're just being honest. And then if you can offer another time to do something, if someone invites you to do something, or another time that you can help or you're available, that always keeps the relationship friendly and polite as well. And this isn't always possible, but if you can do it, definitely offer, oh, I can't today, but maybe next week, or I can't, but let's think of another time. Let's take a couple of minutes at the end of this lesson to practice your refusing or polite declining. Now, first, let's pretend that I'm your coworker. It's about 10 o'clock, and I say, hey, do you want to get lunch at noon? If you're busy, think of a response how you could politely decline my offer. You might say, I'd love to, but I'm actually so busy, I might just work through lunch. Or I'd love to, but maybe tomorrow, today's not a good day. These are 2 great responses. If you can think of another one, let me know in the comments. Next, your old friend asks you, hey, can you help me move this weekend? Now, maybe you just don't really want to help them move, or maybe you're busy. Let's think of a response. Go ahead and just think. I'd love to help you, but I get a sore back from lifting boxes. This, they'd have to respect that you just cannot lift boxes. Or maybe you'd say, I'd love to help, but I've actually already got plans, so I won't be able to. I hope you find someone. Remember saying, I hope you find someone is always polite. It's just, wishing them the best of luck. You can even just say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't this weekend. I'm already busy. I wish you luck, though. Okay, now the last one, you're interacting with a stranger at a restaurant. You have a plate at your table and you're not quite done with your food, but the server comes up to your table and says, hey, can I take your plate? What are you going to say to politely refuse? You might say, thank you for offering, but I'm actually not finished. Or you might say, thanks for asking, but I'm still working on my plate. These are very acceptable. And I say in a formal situation, thanking someone for offering first is probably the best polite move. I hope that you guys practice these phrases in real life conversations. Thank you so much for learning these polite phrases. on declining and refusing with me, again, visit EnglishWithKayla.com to learn more English with me. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. I'll post some lessons here on screen that will help your polite and respectful English. Goodbye.